Hi, are you a newest dragon companion? Oh, perfect, right. My name is Nero. I'm the one you'll be meeting with today. This is sort of like an interview, but also it's like an introduction. So I'm just going to be asking you a couple questions about yourself. Nothing too scary, don't worry. However, we'll need to know a bit of information before we get started. So, what I'd like to know from you is your first and last name, please. Is that with an E? Okay, thank you. And your date of birth? Including the year, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we don't actually have an age limit on who can and cannot be a dragon companion, but knowing your birthday is almost sort of like a security measure. I use it to make sure that the person I'm interviewing is actually the person that made the appointment. Yeah. Right. And do you have any previous experience with dragons? Either if you first-hand have some experience, or if a family member is a companion? Okay. Yeah, we do not have a preference as to whether we like people to be already involved with dragons or not. Yeah, we find that it's lovely when being a dragon companion is like a family tradition, but we also really enjoy it when somebody is the first in their family, because it means we'll be introducing dragons to a whole new group of people, and it's always very lovely to sort of reach out. Yeah. So just make a couple more notes there. Right, so okay. Now, so you give me your first and last name. Do you have a preferred name that you go by, or is that okay? Oh, okay, good. Just want to make sure we cater to everybody. Yeah. Some people go by different names than their registered birth name, so we just want to make sure that we give people everything that they're comfortable with to make sure that their experience is the best one that it can be. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to call you there. Put my notebook away. Not going to be using this pen either. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is just a brief introduction to the study of dragons. This will be actually a book that you can take home and keep. This will be your book. We give everybody a bit of a book. It's like a guide. It can be very helpful. Even I, now and again, I've been doing this for a very long time. I find that I come back to this book. Yeah, it's a beautiful book. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's lovely. So it's been just the book on dragonology for years and years. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to look at a couple of things. So this obviously this is a dragon. This is the stereotypical sort of European style dragon, and this is a very common species. This is what most people think of when they think of a dragon. Now you'll see that there are lots of more species than you ever imagine as we go further in this book. So now there are important principles in the study of dragons that are important to learn about. Now the first one is field work. So this means that the study of dragons is best done out in their environment instead of bringing them to us. And the second F, they call it the 5 Fs of dragonology, so sort of catchy nickname for that. The second F is foresight, which implies that so proper learning as well as preparation are essential for studying these animals. They're very dangerous, so you need to make sure that you are accurately prepared to deal with any situation. Forwardness, which has to do with being courageous. Now again, these are very dangerous animals, so you can see that my wearing heavy protective gear to work with them, which do not worry, we will be issuing you some protective gear. You can have, so yeah, I've had this one custom made, so you do actually get a wide range of varieties to suit not only your protective needs, but any sort of fashion that you want to put into it. yeah, I mean, who says that science has to be boring, you know? And so, like I was saying, you know, forwardness is important because you get back what you put out. So, when you are confident, the dragon will be more likely to respect you. So, you know, it's said that some animals can smell fear. That's an important principle to remember. Sorry if you, I don't know if you can hear that, but the dog is actually snoring. So the next F is frankness. So you've got them in a list here, so you can always go back and see that in your book. Frankness is important, and it's a synonym for, in this case, honesty. You know, when you are writing stuff in your journals, you know, you'll be issued a journal like this. Yeah, you can. There's all sorts of different journals. I prefer this size. It's a good size, not all pages. And so it's very important to only report what you see, and to make sure you don't leave anything out. So a lot of people want to glamorise dragonology. You know, you may be disappointed if you've been sitting all day and you didn't see anything interesting, but do not follow the urge to make something up, because the honesty in these studies are very important for the health and the conservation of these animals. So we need to make sure that all of these notes are completely honest and completely straightforward. And again, you know, I don't doubt that you are a person with principles. You know, I don't assume that anybody would do that, but it's something I have to make sure I go over just in case. Now, the last F is fatalities, and that may surprise you. You may be thinking, fatalities? I do not want to die. Why is fatalities a principle? Well, it is mostly a reminder. It is a bit of a grim reminder of the dangers of this job. So, you know, being a dragon companion is an incredibly beautiful thing. However, it's important to remember that dragons are very dangerous, and you need to make sure you respect them. Otherwise, it could potentially not bode well for you. So, the next thing we're going to look at is a couple of the different species. So, I'm going to go over them. There's some groupings of species. The first grouping we're going to start with is Western dragons. Now, Western dragons are the ones that most people think of when they think of dragons. So, you can see here a lovely illustration of a European dragon. This is the most well-known type of dragon. They do breathe fire, which not all dragons do. Some are surprised to find that out. And so the European dragons, again, they are the most known, and they prefer to live in caves. In remote areas. Now, you know, dragons, they do get a bit of a bad reputation, especially the Western style dragons, due to a lot of the stories, and so, you know, it's important to know that the dragons, they don't intend to hurt you. They're sort of like sharks in that respect, you know. They were not, you know, put here, they didn't evolve to destroy people, and it's important, you know, that we know that. And, like, for example, these European dragons that have the reputation of keeping princesses in towers and things like that, they prefer to live in remote areas, and, you know, they only really eat, you know, like cattle and sheep and things like that. They have been known to eat humans occasionally, but, again, they don't like the taste of them. It has been said that they find them bitter. And so they have only been known to eat humans in the most dire of circumstances. Now, you can see here the basic anatomy of a dragon, right? So you've got this barbed tail, which not all of them do. The European dragon does have this barbed tail for fighting. And you see that this particular dragon has 4 legs, and these sort of bat-like leathery wings that you often think about when you think about dragons. So, our next species that we're going to talk about is the Naka. Now, the Naka is a bit of an unusual looking dragon, you'll see, because it has these tiny little wings. It's a bit like a penguin. It has wings, but it can't use them to fly. They're more vestigial. So the rather large dog patrolling around, you know, keep our guard on, stuff like that. She's just woken up from a nap. Some guard dog. Now, So these the knackers prefer damp, more woodlandy areas. The dog wants to go outside. So they prefer these more damp, woodlandy areas, and they prefer more of a swamp-like environment. You can see this by their snake-like bodies here. And so they actually can constrict like a snake, and that's some of their main form of attacking. Now these snakes cannot breathe fire, although their bites are dangerous, A, because they are rather large, and also because they're actually venomous. So you have to be wary of their bites for multiple reasons. Now they can get about 30 feet long, which is considerably smaller than the European dragons, which can get up to 45 feet long. Now our third species of dragon is a frost dragon. Now these dragons are native to both the Arctic and the Antarctic. They're actually migratory dragons. So now where most birds fly south for the winter to avoid the cold, these dragons actually migrate with the winter to keep themselves in the cold. So when in the northern hemisphere winter, when the Arctic is dark most of the time, they will stay there, and then once the northern hemisphere turns to summer, they will migrate to the Antarctic to keep themselves in the cold. Now you can see here that they can be most of this light snowy blue to blend in with their environment. They can either be pure white or white with hints of blue or pink. Now you can see this piece of skin here. It's actually a shed skin. Dragons, like a lot of other lizards, do shed their skin. So this skin was not taken, and the dragon was not harmed in any way. So if you want, you can actually feel that. Yeah, it's lovely. It feels rather cool. Yeah, it's just like, it's sort of iridescent almost. Yeah, it's rather lovely. The sort of pink reflecting in the light like that. It's beautiful. Yeah. So now we're going to move on to a group of dragons called Eastern dragons. Now, you may be familiar with a dragon like this, but you may not be familiar with these other two species. So the Tibetan dragon is, as you may have guessed, from the region of Tibet. They are exclusively red dragons. They are rather large. They can get up to 40 feet long. Though they are thinner than their sort of southern Chinese cousins. Now, as you can see over here, now you'll notice that none of these dragons actually have wings, so they are not capable of flying. Now, these particular dragons, the Tibetan dragons, they like to eat yeti, as well as yaks that they find in the mountains. Yeah, and then next we have the lindworm. Now the lindworm, of course, is named for its worm-like shape, and you'll notice something interesting about the lindworm is that it only has 2 legs. So this contributes to its rather snake-like appearance, and it as well has a barbed tail. So the lindworm is very interesting because it's actually very fast, and they prefer sort of shallow nests in the earth, and they live in more of a northern region. Yeah, you'll see these little handy-dandy maps in here, similar to like Siberia, so they like to live in those places. Now they're a slightly different colour, whereas the Tibetan species is almost exclusively this lovely reddish-brown. The lindworm can be any colour from blue to green, even to a sunny yellow. So these dragons are slightly smaller, slightly thinner. They average about 35 feet long, and they feed almost exclusively on Bactrian camels, which is a rather interesting taste that they have there. Now, this is the Asian lung dragon. Now, there are several different subspecies of this dragon, and they're most identifiable actually by their toes. So the Chinese lung, which is pictured here, has 5 toes. The Japanese lung has 4, and the Indonesian lung actually only has 3 toes. So you can see here that they are the dragons that are most commonly, the most well known of the Eastern dragons. You can see their sort of peacock colouring through here. Yeah, they're extraordinarily beautiful. Now dragons have sort of a different reputation in Asian countries. Now, it appears from evidence found by a lot of these dragonologists that while the European dragon, the Western style dragons, are more seen in old stories as the bad guy, as sort of these classic, guarding the princess in the tower types. You can see they're commonly the ones that you see in fairy tales and such. Whereas these Eastern dragons, while multiple of these dragons do breathe fire, they are more sort of, they're a little bit more benevolent per se. So they are less likely to attack people unprovoked, and they don't get as much of a bad reputation as some of the Western dragons do. Yeah, you can see here, this is a shed skin from an Asian lung. Yeah, the dragon was about 250 years old. Yeah, they lived for an extraordinary long time. You can see the way that this moves in the light. It's absolutely beautiful. Yes, you can have a touch on that if you would like to. Yeah, feel it. Yeah. That's lovely, isn't it? It feels really cool. Yeah. So, the next grouping of dragons we're going to go to is sort of the more unusual dragons. These do not fit in either of the previous groups. There's 3 of them here. The first of these unusual dragons is the wyvern. Now, you may notice in the picture that the wyvern actually only has 2 legs, which is rather unusual for a dragon. It's more bird-like in its construction, so the wings are actually the second set of limbs. Yeah, so they prefer to eat things like elephants, hippopotamus, large things like that, and their legs are very good, very strong for picking those large animals up. Wyverns are actually the largest species of dragon. They can get up to 50 feet long and 18 to 20 feet high, so they are extremely large. Now, this dragon you see in the middle with the beautiful peacock colouring is an amphitheatre. Now, amphitheatres are native to North, Central and South America, and there are different subspecies. Now, this particular one is a Mexican amphitheatre, and you can see here that they're actually feathered. Oh, the dog is coming back inside. Now, you can see here that their wings are actually feathered, which is very interesting, as opposed to the sort of webbed, leathery wings that you normally think of when you think of dragons. Now, the Mexican amphitheatre and amphitheatres in general actually do not have any legs, so they move exclusively with the use of their bodies, similar to snakes, as well as their wings. And the third dragon, which is very unusual, is an Australian dragon. It's the marsupial dragon, so you can see that it has a very kangaroo-like body, and it has very powerful legs, which it uses for both movement and fighting. And you can see that it's got a little baby right in its pouch there. And you can also see that while it does have wings, they are not remarkably good for flying. They are more like vestigial wings, part of sort of a callback to evolution past. And so this is a membrane from the marsupial dragon. Now you'll notice when you feel this, here, have a feel of that there. Okay, so yeah, you'll notice if you look very close at it, that the membrane of this dragon actually doesn't have any scales. So it has more skin than scales. Yeah, it's very fascinating stuff. And again, they do shed their skin, so all of the dragon skin that you felt today was shed very naturally, and you don't have to worry about dragons being harmed in the making of this book. Yeah, so it's very easy to collect these skins from the dragons. Now, sort of these species for now. Maybe I'm going to get my notebook out again to put the notes here, observations. So, what I think the best thing to do is now a lot of people, when they come here, they have very little knowledge of dragons. So it is not imperative that you already have a species of dragon in mind that you'd like to work with or study. So what we can do is we can do some tests, and we can do sort of a compatibility test to find dragons that work for you. Yes, it's a very ancient system. There's a bit of a I don't want to say discourse, but there's a bit of disagreement within the sort of dragonology community about whether or not this works. And so it has to actually do with evaluating your facial structure in terms of determining which types of dragons you like to work with. Now, it operates on the principle of which types you are. So it has to do with, they call back to your traditional elements, earth, wind, water, fire. And so it'll deal with evaluating your structure as well as aspects of your personality to find which dragon you're most compatible with. So if you would like, we can sign you up for something like that. Or you can look through the book and find something maybe that calls to you. And if it does, we can definitely get you in the correct study programme for that. We have branches of our school located throughout the world, so you will be able to study your particular dragon species wherever it may take you. For example, you may need to end up in Australia to study the marsupials, or things like that. Studying the wyverns, the most common place to see them is in Northern Africa and the Middle East. So we can definitely arrange things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some contact information from you. So do you have a preferred phone number? Okay. And do you have an email? Yeah, for some reason people are always surprised that the study of dragons utilise email. I guess they associate dragons with sort of medieval things like that. Yeah. Do you have any other methods of communication that you'd like to indicate to us? Any sort of magical means of communication? Phone and email is okay? Okay, good. Alright, thank you. So I will keep that in your file, and if anything comes up that I think will interest you, I will let you know, either by calling you or sending you an email. So hopefully I will get back to you very soon. So if you have any more questions, do not hesitate to ask. Again, I am reachable by my email as well as through our website. You can ask any of our dragon specialists. I personally have been sort of specialising in taking care of young dragons lately, hence the state of my nails is tragic. I know the younglings get a bit grubby, and I think my nails are a bit too shiny. So I think they tried to hoard them. They do exhibit those hoarding tendencies. Oh, let me show you. There's a lovely picture in here. It's in here somewhere. Here we go. Yeah. A lot of people think that these hoarding tendencies are a myth, but actually it's very true. Dragons are very drawn to shiny things. Certain species especially, and some do it to impress a mate, like this dragon here has brought his potential mate a very shiny stone in order to impress her. Yeah, everybody knows that the way to a woman's heart is through shiny stones. These are actually European dragons. If you have any information or any questions, or any more information you're looking for, this book is yours to keep, so I'll give that to you. Yeah, of course, everybody gets a copy of that. So I will email you if I think of anything else, and if you have any specific questions or a species you'd like to know more about, do not hesitate to ask. I am always here. I am not only an interviewer, but I can also be I find myself a mentor to the newest students, because again, dragonology can be very intimidating, as an area of study if you're new to it. So yeah, and then tomorrow we can talk about, well, maybe not tomorrow, I don't know, whatever your next appointment is, yeah, we can talk about dragon biology and their physiology, things like that. Get you sort of prepped and ready to interact with a real dragon. Yeah, I can't wait. Okay, yeah, so once again, my name's Nero, so do not hesitate to ask for me if you have any questions. Thank you, see you soon.